Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Chalk Sports Podcast, and we have to talk about the NFL Combine, Day 3, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Everyone gets so excited about these because they're always the most entertaining ones. You know the guys, you know the Haynes Kings, that's really the, the Diego Pavias or the Ty Simpsons, and they didn't compete in the 40-yard dash, which I think is BS. They should have to compete in them just because what's more exciting than that? But let's talk about Taylor Green and his record-setting, combine. First off, he's 6'5", 227, and he ran a 4.36. He beat out a large chunk of receivers, which is no joke. His ability to run is something that we've seen pretty much every year, but it's always a different quarterback. 2 years ago, we had Anthony Richardson. Last year, we had Jalen Milroe. This year, it's Taylor Green, and I'm very excited to see what he has planned for us because he also broke the vertical jump record with 43.5 inches. That is the QB record for the highest vertical in history by 3 inches, beating out Anthony Richardson. He also is second place in dash time behind Reggie McNeil, and then Robert Griffin III is third. His split is not amazing, but that doesn't matter because he goes fast when he gets long. His broad jump is also the highest by another inch. His 3-cone is in there. I don't know about the other two, but the ability this kid showed early is immaculate. It is something that is not seen often when it comes to the combine and when it comes to just showing up there. Haynes King got second place, and I think he is very equal to Green in the ability department. I like Green, though. I'm so much higher on Green now, especially considering you have to scroll so far to get to him. 228th. I feel like there's a world where if you look at the draft, mock drafts. There it is. Oh, wait, that's going to show mock draft simulator. If you go to the mock drafts, and you look in the third round, that area is about where you might see Green get picked. I'm trying to think of a team off the dome. The Browns? No, they have Shador. They'll probably stick with Shador. But there are teams out there that need a quarterback. You know who I'm thinking now? Now that I mention it? The Rams. If you simulate the draft, get up to here. Let's say they go McCoy. That's probably the best option there. They go 29th. You go tackle. You get Lamau, who I still stand with as a good pick. 61st. It's a little too early. You can get another cornerback in Chris Johnson. That's strong. All of a sudden, pick 193. It's not crazy to say because for 9th, it makes sense. In my mind, it makes sense because you're getting a guy who, in the 9th round, you're getting a guy who can step your team up so much. That's a terrible grade for them. F. That's insane. But I think that the ability that Taylor Green brings in potential outweighs all the cons he has in mental side. If you read about what he has, it's passing results when he breaks the pocket. It's his ability, his reading, his snapping, his post-snap processing is often a struggle. But that's okay when your guy can run so fast and you have time to develop him. Who better than Matthew Stafford to teach Taylor Green how to throw a football? His pressure, he's horrible under. What's Stafford good at? Yeah, his pressure, his ability to control the pocket. His passing is horrible. Guess what Matthew Stafford is pretty damn good at? It's that processing power that Matthew Stafford holds. He's not a runner. All of a sudden, if you're developing Taylor Green as this quarterback under Matthew Stafford, the number 1 passer this year and an MVP with the worst running grade, all of a sudden, if you can teach him half that ability, you have a legitimate quarterback for the next few years. And that's the plan that I think the Los Angeles Rams should do. I think any team would be lucky to have this kid because I haven't seen anything bad about his character. I think that his potential is he's comparable to DK Metcalf in his athleticism. He almost outran DK. He outjumped DK, and he's 2 inches taller than DK. That is a kid with a lot of potential on the athleticism side. I want to see him translate that into on the field and throwing in those lanes a lot. And we'll move on to the next one. Haynes King. Let's talk about him for a second. I didn't get to watch the drills. I was busy. I was out. I was enjoying life. But his 4.46 is very impressive for a quarterback. He ran a 4.46 while also being 6'2". He has a good arm. He is one of the guys who I consider actually as a good quarterback in this class of kind of guys who didn't pan. I don't consider Garrett Nussmeier on that level. I consider Carson Beck. I consider... And then you got to scroll a little while. I think Sawyer Robertson's a better thrower, but I think Haynes King is a better runner. And you see his grades, it's been good year after year after year after year after year after year. I think he's a 4th round pick. And I don't think that's because of him. I think the quarterback class is very weak. I don't really love this quarterbacking class. It's got a lot of weakness to it in the fact that there's some potential in some of these guys, but like Garrett Nussmeier. He's 24. He ended up having a horrible season this year. He got benched. There wasn't a lot that he showed promise in. Carson Beck's older, but he's still talented. Cade Klubnik's good. Drew Aller is alright at best. He's shown a lot of weakness, and you've seen, and his combine, I did watch his drills highlights. Not amazing. Not amazing by any means. And it's just something that you got to keep an eye on. Ty Simpson, I like. I think Ty Simpson is fair to be 2nd round talent. Otherwise, this class struggles. So when you see somebody like Taylor Green shine, or you see somebody like Haynes King shine, you have to put them into consideration. Sawyer Robertson ran a pretty good 40 time considering what he is. Jalen Daniels, on the other hand, did not. In my mind, Jalen Daniels' stock took a huge hit after this one. Because he is a good deep thrower. But his ability to throw is comparable, but it's not good when you factor in the fact that he's also a good runner. It's a good mix. He's a good quarterback, but a lot of the good quarterback comes from his run ability, and when he runs a slower 40 time than Sawyer Robertson, who's known for his throwing ability, who was good with his throwing ability, and even though, his grades are extremely low, that's actually way lower than I was expecting. On the field, he looked great. 31 touchdowns, 3,682 yards. That's pretty impressive. I'm very excited to see what this quarterback class can do because it's a lot of guys with potential. It's a lot of guys who can become what I think they could be. I'm excited to see Haynes King and Taylor Green get develop in the NFL because as long as you get put on a team that can develop a quarterback well, a 49ers, a Rams, a Vikings, who else? I mean, if you go through the list, I would consider the Patriots a good team to develop in the East. That's it. North, I'd say, would just be nobody. I don't think any of them are good there. If we're talking like upper echelon. South, I would argue, you could argue the Colts, and you could argue the Titans. If they continue to go well with Cam Ward, I don't know. But Colts for sure. Colts, Patriots for sure. You could argue any of those teams in the West. The Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders are the only one that I wouldn't consider. But we'll go with none of them just because they don't need a quarterback. Colts you could argue, I guess the Patriots don't need a quarterback too. But if we're looking at teams that need quarterbacks, okay, we'll do that. Colts, no Chargers, nobody else in the AFC that are talented at developing quarterbacks. In the East, you could argue, you could say Giants, but they don't need a quarterback. It's looking at these old guys. So, in my mind, the Vikings would definitely need a quarterback. I don't think JJ will pan out because I think JJ hit a ceiling. He doesn't have a lot of potential. I think the Lions could use a quarterback as a backup and development prospect because this class is a lot of development prospects. The Bucks have the ability to develop a quarterback, and I think there could be potential in grabbing one. And I think it's the Niners. Niners don't need a quarterback, but the Rams need a backup quarterback. That is what you're looking at, is teams that can develop quarterbacks well. Would make sense to draft a Tommy Castellanos. I'm in my FSU gear. But Haynes King, Tommy, Taylor Green, there's 3 guys who I consider development projects. Draft them for development. Diego Pavia, he is one of those guys you put on the Browns, you put on the Browns, you put on the Jets, you put on the Dolphins. He changes the atmosphere. You put him on the Raiders, you put him on the not Texans. You put him on a team that needs an atmosphere change. A guy who can light the fire under people and who can just really make a difference. And I think that's where Diego Pavia goes. But in all reality, there will be a team who end up screwing up one of those 3's careers. Haynes King, Taylor Green, or Tommy Castellanos, whether it's the Jets drafting one of them and holding them and not doing anything with them. I'm excited to see how this goes. We'll move on to the next, running backs. And oh boy, there were some interesting ones. One, Mike Washington. He's such a sweetheart. I love him so much. I think he was crying. If I was not mistaken, yes, he did cry. He cried, which is awesome. I love it so much that he is so determined just to be the best he can be. He's just full in tears. And I love it because he cares. Like, he wants to succeed. And the 49ers fan trying to get him drafted to the 49ers. But that's what it's like. That's a 7-3-3 that he's emotional with because he worked hard to get there. He's like he says, I've worked hard my entire life to get this. And it's impressive because he's the number one runner. His production, not amazing. Let's go back down a little bit. His production was not amazing in Arkansas, but I think he has some potential. His ability to read a hole was pretty solid. You see it right there. Gap grade was solid. His rushing grade was solid. His zone grade was solid. Also being factored in that, they do have plus attempts. Okay, he had 1,000 yards and 167 attempts. 6.4 yards a carry is insane. That is awesome. That is very impressive. That's something you got to keep an eye on to factor in when you're looking at these running backs. There's a lot of good running backs in Arkansas specifically who took those snaps, who took those carries, and who didn't give them those chances. He got compared to Maureen Hampton, and that's a very fair comparison because he's got the potential. I think he could be very good. I'm excited to see. And I mean, you could argue, okay, let's look at what Lance has. His pass protection is a little weak. Okay. He cried after that. I believe that he will be able to get the grit up. His willfulness, and he needs to be more willful and aggressive between the tackles. It's all mental stuff. I think that's something that can be developed. That's something you have to note is there's not a guy who's like, if you don't have that mental thing, it's developable. If you look at it, you just have to factor that in. If they have, okay, maybe they're not the fastest or the strongest, but they're mental-wise is talented. That's a guy who's hit a ceiling. That's a guy who's capped. And there's a chance they can develop because they can make their body stronger. But I think with the mentals, it's something that is important to just to not take away from. You have to understand that, hey, these guys can develop. Jameer Gibbs is who Jeremiah Love's getting compared to. And let's talk about this for a second. I'm excited for this. I like this quote. I've read it before on a short. It's hard to extend drives, so you look for the skill players who get you to the end zone with the least amount of plays, and he's that kind of player. That is dead on what Jeremiah Love is. And I know we'll give Mike Washington his love. Jeremiah Love was mad. Was mad that he didn't get a higher run. He is considered a year one starter in prospect grade. I'm pretty sure he's the only. Oh, never mind. Arvell Reese, Mansour Delane, David Bailey, Carnell Tate, Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Love. That's the order of NFL grades. I don't factor too much, but you have to still look at it. He's 6 foot and he ran a 4.36, which is very good. His ability on PFF, he is immaculate. He is such a good player, and I love that he has the potential that we get to see. He ran 6.9 yards a carry, just like I said with Mike Washington. Keep an eye on the yards per carry because that's one of the biggest factors. There's so many strengths. His weaknesses is slight indecisiveness. His probes to find creases that instead of setting one up. Those are such little things. Leaves feet and goes airborne too willingly. It's such minor complaints. And it's not like Lance Lance is doing his job. He's doing it very well. But that's the thing, it's minor complaints, minor things that can be fixed so quickly. And if you look at the draft, there's only one team I see him going to. Unless he gets picked sooner, which I don't see happening. If we talk about it for a second, Mendoza is obviously going number one. Oh, they have the Jets going. That's a little insane. Unless you're planning on getting rid of, what's his name? Wow, I'm blanking, and it's annoying me. Not Le'Veon Bell. Wow. Breece Hall. That was his name, because it's the 4 letters. Le'Veon Bell. Gotta love Le'Veon Bell. But I think he has a lot of potential, and he's probably going to be a Chief. If somebody doesn't pick him up sooner, somebody could. I have a hard time seeing it. Again, I don't see the Jets picking him. That's a little crazy. But, you could argue the Cardinals. I don't think so. Again, they have Amari DiMercado. They have Connor. They have so much talent in the running back position. They don't need that. Titans are going to go defensive because they're getting a defensive coach. Giants definitely don't need a running back. Browns definitely don't need a running back. What Commanders you could potentially see? I don't think so. They're very high on Bill. And the Saints have Kamara. The only person that I could see even maybe doing it, the Jets could potentially, but I don't see him going that high. For the sake of the Jets need defense. I'm excited to see how the draft goes. We'll move on from Jeremiah Love and move on to Desmond Claiborne. He had a good one. He had a good combine. It was actually very impressive because his production score it's low, but it's not really that low in my mind. It's actually a lot higher than that. He had an all right college career. He had not 1,000 yards pretty much the last 2 years. He had 909 this year, but whatever. We'll give him the extra 100. His 10 touchdowns. He was hurt. I think early in the season he was fairly hurt. I think he was hurt consistently. He has some potential. I think that his combine sets show good. Tyler Goodson's such a disrespectful thing. Wow, that is nasty. But kick returner, for sure. I think he's got a lot of potential as a specialist. Maybe as a development piece. Again, we're talking about development pieces in the draft. Obviously, he's going to have a lot of development pieces. I feel like this is the time for these guys who, in the combine, when I look at the people who do the combine, it's always how they develop. Because it's not about what their production was in college, with the factor of that they still had good production. Obviously, they can't have no yards and be like, yeah, that's the guy I want to develop. But it's a guy who you look at and say, okay, I think they can develop. I think they can become something. They showed signs in the combine. Something that is measurable on paper, numbers, dead on. Okay, they showed this. And then you look at their character, and then you make all the other judgments. But this is the time to do it. Desmond Claiborne, you could argue, has that potential. His production score, so low. It's actually really extremely low. But his athleticism is good. And I think that potential is there to give him some time. Give him some development space. Again, herky-jerky run style, that one's not fixable. But modest run strength, okay, he can work on that. Ball security became an issue in 2025. Yeah, he had a lot of fumbles. But there is potential. It might not be the highest potential. He might not hit a Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to equal Jeremiah Love. Maybe. There's a possibility. But it's not like you're drafting him for the potential of, like, Saquon Barkley. You're drafting him as a guy who's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot to hold on to. And there's a chance he can succeed, which I believe in him. Jadon Price had an alright combine. I think he was actually subpar. Emmett Johnson, super disappointing. Because he was very high on PFF. I was fairly high on him. It's not the best grade. Again, he still has potential. It's not going to, this is not devastating. This is more for the guys who were lower in the draft, who were day 2s, day 3s, that you look at and say, okay, they have potential. They showed something. They showed something that I can look at and say, okay, they're worth a pickup because they might develop. He's got some stuff going for him. He's kind of big for 2. He's very compact for 202. He's not exactly he's not large, but he's definitely has the weight to be a bowling ball. He shows a lot of potential in Nebraska, and there's a lot of development potential with him. I believe in it. We'll move on though to the last one, the wide receivers. And first off, Brennan Thompson running pretty much almost the record is super good for him. I was just happy for him. It was something that I wasn't super expecting somebody to even compete with the record of Xavier Worthy's, which was a 4.21. 4.21, which is insane. Him running a 4.26, actually really good. Super good. He was just gliding. His legs move so fast. It shows a lot of potential. I want to see what he becomes. I don't think that is fair by the NFL. Average backup or special teamer. I know nobody makes those. I'm sure it's a statistic that you don't know. But I think he's got more potential than that. I think there's a chance where his small frame could be a weakness, but it also could be a strength in deep balls and getting space and almost slot receiving where, okay, you might get laid out by a linebacker, but you show potential. He showed potential in 2023. You see right there, 7 receptions. He had 241. He was great. Had 2 touchdowns. His grade was a 94.3, which is insanely high. That's way too high for an average player. 2024 was a little way weak, super weak. 2025 was strong. He had 1,000 yards. He had 6 touchdowns. 18.5 yards of reception. He knows what he was good. He was good at deep balls, not contested balls, but deep balls, making the space. His yard per route run was 2.77, which is solid. His drop grade was actually decently low. It was a little high, but we'll move on. I want to talk about him. I've been itching to talk about Eric Rivers. I loved his combine. This is my Nick A-Man worry. If you want a guy who I believed in, by the way, since college, there is definitely video. There might be video. I've definitely said it. I could definitely get it confirmed. Where I said when he was leaving FIU that Georgia Tech got an amazing guy, and I don't know when I said it. It was definitely early in the season of draft or of college. But I was very high on Eric Rivers because I loved watching him at FIU. He had 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. His Georgia Tech career statistically was not amazing. I don't know why Haynes King was very reliant on the run game. He was still a good passer. He got the ball well, but Eric Rivers didn't have like the statistics to show off. His combine definitely boosted his stock in my mind. He's pretty undersized. It's 5'10", but I think his athleticism is very good. You see the weaknesses. His drops were bad. And he has a bad change of direction. But I think there's still so much chance with him that I believe in it. And I think that he should shoot up the ranks after this combine. He had 4.35. It was one of the higher ones behind Zachary Branch, Bryce Lance, Jeff Caldwell. That's another guy who's like a Nick A-Man worry. Bryce Lance. Holy crap. And we'll get to him in a second. Oof. I like Eric Rivers. I think he should go high. I don't know how high he will go, but in my opinion, he has a lot of potential, and I want to see it shine on a good team. Bryce Lance. Let's get this right out of the way. We already played this game with his brother. His brother came in, Trey Lance. As a 49ers fan, I know him all too well. So, watching the combine and seeing Bryce Lance go up the run, that's Trey Lance's brother. He had a good college career. He had 1,000 yards both seasons the last 2 years. When he played more than 13 games, he had good touchdown numbers, 8 and 17 in his 2024. He's 6'3", and he ran a 4.34, which is comparable to a DK Metcalf, which is super good. His frame he's very big. He's a very big man. And it's almost scary. 41.5-inch vertical is super impressive. We've seen some better ones, obviously, but as a total package, I like Bryce Lance. And I think he's going to get the buzz because of his height and his speed, but I think he has a lot of potential. His drop rate is very low. He ran very deep a lot of the time. His 21.2 yards catch is insanely high. His receiving grade was good. His contested catch rate is also really high. He made a difference. And I think average depth of target is definitely something to consider considering the yards he had. His deep yards is very high versus his screen yards. Screen yards is something I look at sometimes when I'm looking at a wide receiver who's a deep threat wide receiver. Not somebody like a slot receiver like a Michael Thomas in the past where his slot yards would be very high. Bryce Lance isn't a Michael Thomas. He's not going to be a slant man because he's accelerating at such a high level. He hits his speed pretty quickly. 1.49 seconds. He had the third highest split of 10 yards. And then once he got to his actual, it slowed down a little bit. It fell a little bit. But at the same time, that's still something to note as an adjustment. As something that, he can't really do slot. But, man, when he plays on something where he's constantly moving, he's getting farther and farther and farther and farther, that's good. And his deep yards is what is the stem of it for me. 641 yards, deep yards. 641. He had 1,000 yards on the season, and he had 641 of them from deep yards. That is a big factor of, can this guy be a good deep threat? And that's a 49ers prospect. That would be, let's go through a mock draft. Let's get to 4 rounds. I think there's only 3 teams that really need him. 49ers. No, not Bills. I think they already have Keon Coleman. And I think Keon Coleman fills that role. I think it's a 49ers kind of pick. Like, if you go, let's go that late. Let's say, okay, they draft first. They get, I don't know who I didn't pick originally. I think he already got, I didn't pick a wide receiver. But they drafted Jordan Tyson. And I guess you could go Casey. I think I had him going Casey normally. We'll go Casey. Continue. Because you don't only pick one wide receiver. Then you get Derek Moore. Slide down to Moore. And then you're getting up again. I like Kyle Lewis. I think his coverage has been good. He's got a lot of potential. So we'll go Kyle Lewis. Once we get to the 4th round, okay, you could look at Bud Clark. Brandon Thompson is also there. That would actually be a guy I would pick. I wouldn't pick him over, though. This is where Bryce Lance would about go. We have a lot of comp picks in the 4th round. So, okay, they don't go in there. Let's say they go Bud Clark. Let's get a safety that has a lot of run defense. He's got a lot of potential. He can be developed. Then you're up again. All right. Now you look, okay, Cade Klubnik's there. Guard-wise, I think it's shot by this point. DJ Campbell's not bad, so you go DJ Campbell. All right? All of a sudden, that last comp pick comes into play. And I think this is where it's a Bryce Lance, it's an Eric Rivers. Bryce Lance or Eric Rivers. Either way, both of those are good options. I'm going Bryce Lance in this scenario, just for the sake of the talking point. That's a C+. I still think that's the potential. That's where it is. That is the difference that he would be a difference maker. Because now all of a sudden you throw a deep threat on the 49ers who lost their deep threat because he went insane. Okay? So now it's Ricky Pearsall, Jennings, Bryce Lance. Trey Lance's brother, so that's the irony in it is not lost on me. But I think that potential is there because Pearsall has always been almost a better slot receiver, in my mind. A better slot receiver because he's good at those short, quick, in and out, boom, down. Boom, down. He's been good at those. He has good hands. And I think adding that to the slot, moving down to the slot, because he was good deep threat. Jennings is a good middle threat. Now you have Bryce Lance. So now you have Ricky Pearsall playing short, Jennings going middle, Bryce Lance going deep. I think that combo works so well. And I like that potential draft. I'll make a mock draft after the combine ends. But if you made it this far, let me hit some other ones for you. Zachary Branch had a decent combine. I think he has a lot of potential. We got to see how he goes. Skylar Bell, it could have been better. It definitely could have been worse. I think somebody who did have a worse one would be Malachi Fields. Somebody who was very highly scouted, very highly touted as, oh, this guy's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot going for him. He was what? I thought he was 75th on PFF. I think all of a sudden, he falls a little bit. I think he falls below Branch and Bell. I think he falls to about that 100 spot where Cypress Allen is. Because I think that when you have a bad combine like that, you got to show something, and he didn't really show something. Michael Pittman is such, wow. That's actually a really good comp. Because he ran a little slow. He's second to last, which is not a good look. What is his split? Was the worst in the end. That's the problem. Is the split was really bad. Again, this should not eliminate him from drafts. I still think he's good. I think Michael Pittman is such a dead-on comparison because he shows that frame, the 6'4", quick cuts, quick moves. I don't think the statistics in the combine showed what he was hoping. That's my opinion on all. Again, if you have an opinion, comment it. I'd love to hear. I'd love to listen to the comments. But make sure to tune in for tomorrow. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.